Farber.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics, and excited today to have three guests on the show because Fortuna Silver did offer an update this morning. They had production numbers from 2022 and also issued full year guidance for 2023. So a lot to dig into today, and quite fortunate to be joined by Jorge Ganoza, the CEO of Fortuna Silver, who has an exciting year ahead. In addition to the numbers, we'll also be talking about the progress at Séguéla as they remain on track for the first gold pour in 2023. So Jorge, great to see you back on the show and welcome on in. How are you today?
No, pleased to be here, Chris, again, and pleasure to be here with Dave and Rafi as well. Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you, and there will be a lot to talk about. And also joining us on the call are two of our silver analysts, Rafi Farber. Rafi, great to see you as always. Good morning, and I guess good afternoon in your time, but great to see you and welcome on in, as well as Dave Kranzler of Investment Research Dynamics. Good to have you here as well. So with that said, again, I will pull up the press release that came out this morning. And Jorge, perhaps we could start by a review of the record production you had of 401.89 gold equivalent ounces, 1,000 gold equivalent ounces in 2022, and we'll dig into the guidance from there. But perhaps you could give us a review of the progress you guys had in 2022.
Yes, I mean, our four mines in the year performed according to plan. And as an outcome of that, we see the growth in gold production for the year. Silver performed basically in line. All the mines performed, and therefore all the consolidated production for silver, gold was within our guidance, right? So no surprises on that end. We're exhibiting significant growth on the side of gold. And there will be more to come on the gold end of our production as our catalyst for value and growth in the near term remains the Séguéla project, which, you know, we're going to talk about it, but it's the mine, there's our fifth mine coming into production by mid-year, right? Yeah.
And we will dig into that. Although perhaps before we do so, in terms of the guidance for 2023, anything you can offer there and what you're looking forward to and anything that investors should be aware of on that side?
Yeah, we as you mentioned, for 2022, we delivered on a gold equivalent basis 401,000 ounces. And on a gold equivalent basis for 2023, we're guiding for roughly around 450,000 ounces of gold, in that range, right? If we look at our guided all-in sustaining cost on a gold equivalent basis, we're talking about $1,350. So we had seen some cost creep, and we're seeing that in 2023. But moving beyond 2023, the relevance of the Séguéla project is that it does not only add significantly to our annual gold production, but also helps lower our costs, right? Séguéla is a project that will operate at or under $1,000 all-in sustaining cost. So that will help balance and lower our global figure for all-in sustaining cost to the range of $1,150 per ounce, well below industry median. No? The global gold production today, as reported by the World Gold Council, in terms of all-in sustaining cost, comes at around $1,300 per ounce, right? So.
Yeah, and obviously we still have the high inflation numbers coming out. Of course, the government numbers showed coming down a little bit, but we know that there are pressures out there. Our last couple of calls, you've talked about how you managed and got out ahead of that in 2022. But wondered if you could update us on how things are looking on the inflation and cost side going into 2023 and how you're feeling about controlling things there.
You know, I believe that inflationary pressures have abated a bit. We still are feeling some of those, but not in the magnitude that we were feeling them through the first half of 2022, right? So we have in our cost figures some inflation baked in. But really, if you look at the breakdown of our cost, or cash cost per ounce remains quite competitive. We have in 2023 a particularly capex heavy year on sustaining capex, and that's what's driving our all-in sustaining cost to the range of $1,300 on a consolidated basis for 2023. But if you just look at our cost on a cost per ounce basis, we are operating mines at a cost of $1,000 per ounce, right? So quite competitive. Digging into the detail of things, in 2023, for example, at our mine in Argentina, Lindero, we're expanding the leach pad. That's an $18 million project. We're renewing mine fleet. We have a last push at the Yaramoko mine with large underground development. Capex is around $30 million. So all in all, we still have in 2023 a capex heavy year at the mines, which weighs into the all-in sustaining cost figure, right? But the mines are operating at competitive costs on a cash cost basis on the C1, and at the all-in sustaining, yeah, we're seeing the burden of the capex heavy year in 2023. Yeah.
And you mentioned Lindero there. I thought there was one note interesting in your press release. You talked about some of the steps you take to improve efficiencies and offset costs there. Could you talk a little bit more about what you've been able to do at Lindero in the past year?
Yes, the team there has done an exceptional work coming out of the difficulties of a challenging ramp up and whatnot of that new mine that Lindero is. We have found ways to optimize pit design. So, shorter hole distances. The guys have, rescheduled the mine a bit and gained some fuel efficiencies through shorter hole distances. We have reduced cyanide consumption. Cyanide is a big cost driver at the mine, and we have a SART plant. So I don't want to get into too technical with this, but the SART plant allows us to recover cyanide. The SART plant is a process that helps us get rid of the little bit of copper that we have in the circuit to enhance metallurgical process, and at the same time allows us to recover cyanide. So the original design of the mine was for a consumption of about half a kilo of cyanide per ton of ore, and right now we've been able to or makeup cyanide is only about 0.25, 0.28 kilos per ton, because the balance is being recovered, right? So that's a significant saving as well. So, just a lot of those smaller initiatives here and there that are helping contain cost.
Yeah, and certainly those add up over time, and I think is one of the things that you've been doing really well. Another note here at Caylloma, you had higher silver and lead production due to higher throughput and head grades. Perhaps you could touch on that a little bit and how things are looking at Caylloma right now.
Caylloma is our smaller asset in the portfolio, but one that continues to, have always every year steady delivery and nice surprises to the upside at the end of the year as well, right? So it's our highest cost operation, silver operation, but today it's a predictable operation with there is not such a thing as a headache-free mine, but this one is one that comes close to it, and it's just a steady delivery. something that we do not present in this news release because it's a production news release is the fact that this mine currently has a very healthy life of mine projection. That if we take into account what we have in reserves and our expectation with respect to resources, I see easy another decade of production at this mine. So, this mine has been operating for 500 years, literally. And as I always say, it's not going to close in my watch. So, a steady performer, really, a steady performer.
Okay, well, good to see things have been going well there, and I know you continue to extend that. And with that said, Dave, I'll turn it over to you, and you can take the next question there.
Sure. I assume are we going to talk about the Seminat issue at all?
Yeah.
Swat that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a topical issue, and it's deja vu with the Mexican authorities, unfortunately. Under this administration, I think President López Obrador has populated some governmental offices with activists. And what we're seeing is activism within Seminat. It's really disconcerting how we can find ourselves here again. We have filed a nullity trial on the resolution. And we're requesting a stay of execution to protect ourselves, just like we did last year. We're following the same strategy last year, a legal strategy and a political strategy, which means dialogue with the authorities, right? So we're protecting ourselves legally, and that's advancing well. The nullity trial has been filed, and we expect to hear from the judge in the coming days. We are confident that our legal position is solid because we have a permit. Unlike last year, the permit expired and we were defending ourselves without a permit. But now we have a permit in place. It's a 12-year permit. After granting the 12-year permit, the authorities tried to shorten it to 2 years. I don't know if you remember that saga. And we prevailed in court. We prevailed in court last year. Sorry, the resolution of the court, came last year. It's November of 2022, a couple months ago. We heard from the court, ruling in favor of Fortuna with respect to this same permit. And now they're saying that they could not have issued the permit for 12 years. They could only have issued it for 6. And so we're contesting that again, right? With the same judge in the same court. So, there are no guarantees when you go to court, but we're feeling very calm and confident with the legal position of the company. And at the same time, we continue dialogue. Dialogue never stops. So we have good dialogue with state authorities who are supportive, and good dialogue with federal authorities as well. And I think a lot of people, even within the Mexican administration, are surprised that we find ourselves here again, right? Does someone have a particular beef with the company? You know what? Our San Jose mine operates in the state of Oaxaca. Oaxaca is not an industrious state, right? It's mainly tourism mainly beach tourism in Huatulco and tourism in the city of Oaxaca, which is a beautiful city. But it's not industrious. So a lot of, and there is a large indigenous population there. So a lot of these activists, I think, see as an insult that there is a successful mine operating for over a decade in the state of Oaxaca, right? So, it's just the reality of that. San Jose is an excellent mine that does a lot of good for the community. It's a modern mine, zero discharge operation. We've been zero discharge. I mean, we discharge no effluents, no water, nothing comes out of the mine. We recycle everything, reuse the water. Our source of water for the mine is a sewage treatment facility in a town 13 kilometers away. So we do not draw water from the subsurface, neither from a river, right? So we capture rainfall and we source water from a sewage plant. So we should be given an award for that rather than the environmental authorities giving us grief. We use dry stack tailings. I don't know if you know what that means, but we extract all the water from the tailings and place dry tailings. So that's a more stable tailings dam. And that's like the golden standard in tailings management. That's what we use at that mine. And the authorities know all of this, no? So it is what it is, and mining has never been an easy business. We know that, so we just, the mine continues operating. Just like last year, we never saw a day of disruption because of this nonsense. And we'll fight so that remains the case this time around. So we are protecting ourselves legally and keeping a very fluid and healthy dialogue with authorities in trying to find an administrative resolution to the issue, right?
I just have a quick question, and I haven't seen the legal documents that were filed by Semernat. But have your attorneys, explained exactly what angle they're trying to exploit here? Because at least from the press releases, it looks like it's just a rehashing of the same issues that they filed against you last time, and the judge swatted it down.
I'm going to tell you, but it's very childish. In the Mexican law, there is an article that says that when you are in an administrative procedure, if you ask for an extension, for example, you have 30 days to file a document with the authorities. So that's an administrative procedure. So if then you go to authorities and say, hey, listen, I don't have 30 days. I ran out of time. The dog ate my homework. I need an extension. The authority can only give you an extension for half of the time allowed by law. So if the law allows 30 days to file whatever, it's for administrative procedures, not environmental, but across the public administration. Mm-hmm. Extensions can only be granted for half of the original period. But that is for administrative procedures. That's when you need to file, for example, a response to an authority. They give you 30 days, and then you ask for an extension, they can only give you an additional 15 days. And that makes a lot of sense. So it's not the bureaucrat sitting there deciding how much time he can give you when you ask for an extension. It's set by law. It's half of the original term. But that is for administrative procedures. It's not for a company or a process where you are filing for a permit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We filed for a permit for 12 years. So they're saying, no, I can only extend it for half of the term. No. You can apply that to me when I'm filing within an administrative procedure, but not for a permit in itself. You assess the permit on its merit. No, you know what I'm.
Yep.
And it's as childish as that. No, and you know what? Even I have read the law, and where this article is in the law. For example, it's in the same section that describes how do you count days in public administration. You know, how do you count days? For example, when they tell you have 15 days to file, those are not 15 calendar days. Those are 50 official days. So Monday through Friday. And if there is a holiday, you subtract the holiday. All of that is explained in the law. And this limitation on extending term by only half of the original term is in that section. So it clearly refers to administrative procedures, not to an environmental permit or, it's just very, 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 very childish. Very childish.
It's a good story, though.
Mexico is a great country and with a long and proud mining tradition. I think finding ourselves in a situation like this is unfortunate. No, I think we'll be over it once again.
Yeah.
Well, I guess these things do get resolved eventually, and it seems like you're doing what you can and have a solid case there. So, Rafi, did you have any questions today that you'd like to run by Jorge?
Sure. What was going in my mind is, 2022 was pretty stressful for silver investors across the board, myself as well. I handled it. It was fine. Didn't freak out or anything, but we weren't expecting silver to fall back down to where'd it go? $16, $17, something like that. And the stress levels were pretty high. So I wanted from Fortuna's perspective as a silver miner, how was it handled at the lows this year in 2022? How are you feeling? Was there any stress in the company? How did you guys handle it? And obviously you came out pretty well, but how was it?
No, I mean, hey, listen, we were stressed just like everybody, but in our particular case, Rafi, we have been for a while balancing our production portfolio with gold as well, right? So even though gold retreated as well, somewhat, or mines performed, and our costs were never really pierced by the drop in price, right? So in my view, which is different from the view of the investor, we've been trying to balance the gold silver mix. We've been trying to keep our mines, in the cost curve, in a place in the cost curve that can perform throughout the precious metals price cycle. So those corrections come and go, and they can be stressful, but we did stop some hiring that we had in our plans, and we took some measures and postponed some investments, but I wouldn't say nothing really dramatic, right? And I think all of the mines continue to generate free cash. So the issue is that with respect to the source of stress, we were both under stress, but probably different, because you have a choice. You have a choice to invest, come in and come out and time your investment. I don't have that choice. I'm here every day, operating the mines when prices go up and in prices go down. I am only long, right? So I can only be long. There was some stress definitely, but I think when you have a choice of coming in and coming out, or timing your investment, the sources of stress can be a bit different than what I see as a mine operator. No, because there is nothing I can do. I can only continue operating and focusing on what I can control, which is cost. But fortunately, the mines performed. We were able to produce free cash flow every quarter. And always keeping in mind that our best asset is coming we're closing the distance to that first gold pour mid this year, right? Yeah.
So one more question, just so I guess investors understand the cost of production. What is it about Séguéla and Africa generally that makes makes cost of production much lower? And what's the biggest thing that makes it so expensive in the U.S.? Is it just regulation? Is that most of it, or is it other things? What's the biggest influence on cost of production?
That's a really good question. In our case, the mine benefits from high grades, right? So on a cost per ounce, grades we are mining 3 grams, 2.5, 3 grams open pit. That's an open pit operation, right? So grades in West Africa are significantly grade in West African open pits is significantly higher than what you find in North America, for example, right? Absolutely, right? So that's one, an important one. Second, strip ratios vary, but strip ratios in West Africa can be quite high, 10 or whatever. In our case, it's about 3. In our case, it's about, also 10 to 1. No, in our case, it's about 10 to 1. But again, we have close to 3 grams in the first years of production, right? And even though West Africa might sound like a remote part of the world, from the perspective of mining, is nothing like that. We find significant pools of expertise, a competitive market for technicians, suppliers. I think the more mature operations, for example, you see how they've been migrating from expat supervision and expat operators, which are really expensive in West Africa, to more local engineers, or a local workforce, which lowers the cost by more than half, right? You halve the cost when you go from expats to locals, right? So we're seeing a lot of that across operations in West Africa, because after over a decade of a lot of mines being built and whatnot, there is a pool of local knowledge developed. So we have a lot of foreign manufacturers, equipment manufacturers, service providers, and a growing pool of knowledge that's available. And that's what makes the difference, right? Yeah, grade. I think grade is the main, the average grade of West African open pit is what, 1.5, 1.8 grams. In North America, it's probably 0.4, right?
Maybe not even that high.
Yeah. So I think that's a big explanation for the all-in sustaining cost or cash cost per ounce. Grade is king.
Okay. And Jorge, you've talked about Séguéla a little bit, although was wondering if you could give us an update on how things are coming along. As of November 30th, you were up to 85% complete, and seems like everything was remaining on schedule and on budget, and you've been moving quite a bit forward there. But anything else that you'd like to touch on and update the audience with?
We have important milestones coming. We announced we energized the substation last year. So we have power from the grid at Séguéla now. We're looking to energize the plant in April. We're already carrying infill drilling ahead of initial mining. And I have to report that everything is coming along according to our plans and expectations for first gold in mid-2023. It's going to be very exciting. This is a project that continues, to advance on time, on budget, excellent delivery by the team, and Yeah, no, it's a very exciting time coming for us, and I think it's a very significant value driver for the company and our investors. Séguéla coming into production. Séguéla comes with close to 10 years of production. Initial years, we're budgeting for half of the year about 70,000 ounces of gold, 65, 70,000 ounces of gold, just in our ramp up year, which is only half year, right? So no, Séguéla is a flagship asset for us and one that's going to drive the company for years to come. Yeah.
And you mentioned before that when you did the Rox Gold acquisition, a lot of the market was concerned a bit about West Africa. I'm curious, now that you've moved things along and you've had a lot of success with drilling, do you find that a lot of those concerns have been alleviated and people are feeling better about that now, or what's the tone been in terms of the West Africa?
Investors can be funny sometimes, right? Because just like you said, when we first did the West African transaction, they were concerned about West Africa. Now they are concerned about Latin America.
Right.
No, West Africa is just such a good place for business. I mean, it's not headache free, it's not a Garden of Eden, but it's for mining. If you want to be a force in mining, you have to be there. And that's the decision we made, and we are reaping the reward. And we are actively looking to expand our business in West Africa, absolutely. With the same enthusiasm and energy that we look at Latin America as well, right? We are a global company from that perspective, well established in these two regions, which are premier mining jurisdictions. And we plan to continue growing our business there. On Latin American side, we have the gold and silver opportunities that we pursue. And in West Africa, the gold opportunities in the countries where we are and in the near neighbors, right?
Okay.
But just as I know I mentioned this to your audience in the past, but when we talk about West Africa, I mean, the playing field in West Africa is the size of the state of Texas. It's the surface area where you play is relatively small, and you are still making world-class discoveries and things. It's very productive, very productive.
Yeah, and you mentioned last time we talked about how you had the press release out of increasing the Sunbird resource, and you still have, fortunately, a lot of drilling targets to go there, and have had some new discoveries. Anything you could update on in the past couple months as you continue the drilling program there?
What I can share with you is that our largest exploration budget this year is $12 million. Our largest exploration budget allocated to a particular site is allocated to Séguéla with $12 million. And that includes infill drilling and targeting new projects. There you see we control 30 kilometers, that's 30 kilometers along a very productive stretch of that Birimian rock complex that hosts some of the major gold deposits owned by Barrick and other B2 Gold and whatnot. So in this part of the world, we control 30 kilometers of that belt. And in blue there you see all the deposits that currently hold resources and reserves: Ancien, Sunbird, Boulder, Agouti, Kula, Antena, and then some new discoveries like Barana, Badior, Gabro North, Booty, Winnie, P1, I mean, Folly, and all of those dots that you see in the map without any legend next to them, all of those are targets that we are aiming to test throughout 2023 and into 2024, right?
Okay, and one question about the processing plant. I know you've mentioned before that 3750 tons per day, yet you have the ability to expand that by about 40%. And you had mentioned that you thought there's a chance that could happen rather quickly. Is that still the plan with the processing plant?
Yes, yes. I don't want to get the carriage in front of the horses. So the plan here is get the plant into production, take it to nominal capacity, and stress it, test it, because in every design you can always push it a bit more. So test it, stress it, take it as far as we can. I believe that's something we can do throughout 2023. So the plan would be that going into 2024, we have a clear idea if the expansion that we believe is warranted here, we can size the expansion. But once we really know and tested the true capacity of the plant, which is going to be, within plus minus what we designed. But once we operate it, take it to nominal capacity, stress test it, push it, then I think we'll have a better handle on how far we can push that plant and better budget for that expansion. And that will also give us time throughout 2023 to better understand Sunbird within the concept of how it comes into the mine plan, and the other deposits that remain open at depth and we continue testing, like Kula, Guti. We are mineralization, Kestrel immediately south of the Antenna deposit. So throughout 2023, we'll get information, which is the plant, how we can stress it, and the best plan to expand it. And second, will allow us time to better understand the resources available to feed into that mine plan, the new resources available to feed into the mine plan, right?
Well, that makes sense. And I guess why people are feeling more comfortable with West Africa and finding new things in other areas to worry about. So Dave and Rafi, did you have any other questions? Or we have a few coming in from the audience, but
I just had a couple quick ones. These are quick. So Jorge, I know there's only so much you can say about fourth quarter earnings, but silver during the fourth quarter was up, around 30%. So, and if you just look at the chart, on average, let's just say it was up 15%. And I don't remember when you last issued earnings guidance, but does your earnings guidance incorporate a 15% increase for the price of silver through the quarter?
Yeah, we don't report earnings guidance, or guidance is restricted to physical metrics and cost.
Probably why I don't remember.
Yeah, that's a good reason why you don't remember. Yeah, but we've been benefiting from the higher silver prices. Absolutely, we've been dealing with some of the cost pressure increases as well, but the silver producers in our portfolio, which are the San Jose mine and the Caylloma mine, have certainly benefited from that ramp up in prices.
So, and then the second question, just really quick with respect to Séguéla, I think I heard you say your guidance for 2023 gold equivalent production incorporated 60 to 65,000 ounces from Séguéla.
65, around 60. It's a range. We provide production within a range. In this year, as it's the first year of production, we have provided a wider range for Séguéla. It's around 60 to 70,000 ounces.
I guess what I'm trying to get at here is on the assumption that you get it up to, I think 130 is the expectation for the current processing plant. If you folded that number into your expectation for full year production in 2023, would that, and I'm just assuming that the other three mines stay flat for the year, that would, by my numbers, that puts you at or near 500,000 ounces of gold equivalent for 2023. I'm not saying that's what it's going to be, but if Séguéla had been operating for the full year in 2023.
Yes. If you annualize Séguéla production, yes, that takes you to 500,000 ounces. Yes, absolutely. that
So,
takes
and one thing I just wanted to point out with respect to that, and I don't know what numbers Rafi might have from other comparable companies, but right now, comparable companies that are producing 500,000 ounces of gold equivalent a year, on average and in general, are valued in the market around 1.5 to 2 billion, which, aside from the fact that the stock's trading considerably below tangible book value, on that basis, on an actual production basis, would seem to me that this stock is absurdly undervalued right now.
Fortuna had a very important run in prices throughout 2022, particularly from the second half of the year to where we are. A significant run in price, which retreated somewhat with this nonsensical situation in Mexico. We find ourselves again, and but my expectation is that as the market now sees Séguéla closer and closer and being a reality, not an expectation, we'll get another opportunity to unlock value for investors here, right? I concur that for the type of production that we have, and more importantly, the cost profile. It's not just that Séguéla is bringing more ounces. It's bringing ounces at an all-in sustaining cost in the range of $1,000. Not many mines in the world today produce gold at all-in sustaining cost of $1,000, right? So it helps lower or consolidated costs. It comes with 10 years of life of reserves in a good jurisdiction. Considering all of that, I believe that as the market starts paying attention to the fact that Séguéla is largely de-risked and producing first gold, which is coming in a few months, I think there is another big opportunity for a re-rating. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, any other questions there, Dave? Or
No, I'm good.
okay. Jorge, we actually had a question from Don Durrett, who we did a call with a couple months ago, and he reiterated his belief that he thinks you will do an acquisition of Abra Silver, which you don't need to comment on that, although he was wondering if you had any thoughts on their recent drill results, which I know you have been paying attention to.
Yeah, no, listen, I think the management at Abra is doing an excellent job. They are our neighbors, so we do pay, as you can imagine, very close attention to what our neighbors do. We like their work, we like their project. It's to drive to the Lindero mine, you drive right in front of the entrance to that project, right? So I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that there are a lot of synergies that can be created there. Long term, we like Argentina for business. And right now, Argentina is our largest source of free cash flow, or throughout 2022. But I have to say that today, Argentina, with the economic restrictions that the government has imposed, is not a place where you want to be putting additional money today. And then let's be clear about that. That we are able to benefit from structures that we put in place that allow us to repatriate capital is a different story. But certainly, I believe there will be a change. We invested in Argentina back in 2015 when all of these nonsensical restrictive measures on FX and whatnot were implemented. And Argentina, for us, since then, has been a great place for business. But today, for fresh capital to go into Argentina, we need to see change. And that's a message that we have to consistently give to the authorities, the president, the authorities in the country. I was in Washington 2 months ago, meeting with the Secretary of Economics of Argentina, Secretary Massa. And that was the message, right? You want to see more investment coming? He was in Washington trying to get more money to come into the country. And the message was very clear. You have to change a couple of things here, right? Until that change doesn't take place, we're gonna continue harvesting our investment in Argentina. Once we see the change take place, we'll be quite aggressive to go back in, right? But we need to see change.
Okay, that certainly makes a lot of sense. Rafi, any final questions from you today, my friend?
I just wanted to put in a final comment, say that you don't give forward guidance in dollar terms, only in ounces. May this year be the year that all companies only give forward guidance in ounces of gold and silver. That should be a good world.
That should be a good world. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, and Jorge, one last thing I thought you might like to comment on, something you had out a couple of weeks ago, a statement on the global industry standard on tailings management, and anything that you'd like to offer on that one.
Yes. You know, it is. We're all as miners need to have a concerted effort to clean the image that mining as an industry drags. You know, you know, the world has been changing. We're all more conscious about you know, our impact on the environment. You know, we're all at some level or not, different levels, more conscious about our impact on the environment. But you know, people like to pick on mining, right? But for example, the paint industry used to just 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, just open the valve and let effluents just run out of the plants. And when you know, 30 years ago, you change your oil, where did that oil go? And things like that, you know, and so everybody's been changing, and mining's been changing as well. So, you know, we decided to adopt a new and stringent global industry standard for tailings management. It's very stringent, it's demanding on the governance management side of things, on design criteria. But we have decided to adopt it, and it's our new standard, and all our new facilities will be built under this standard, and we have laid out a multi-year plan so we can adequate the existing facilities to the standard, right? Some of them will be adequated rather quickly, and the other ones will take some time. But I think this is just good practice. It comes with associated costs. It's the cost of doing business today, right? So we talk about cost inflation and whatnot. Cost inflation also comes from these heightened demands from society on industrial producers, not just mining, but industrial producers. No, we are measured against heightened standards on everything we do, and this is just one of them. So that this management of these standards requires more people, more processes within the organization, demands more capital investment, demands that we, every time we look at a new project, we assess it from a different angle as well. So yeah, I think it's good practice, and I think it's something that some important investors expect from us, and we're meeting that expectation.
Well, I think certainly at this particular point in the world, it's important to be doing things well in the community. And I know that's something that's been quite important to you. So good to see that statement as well. And That said, I think we got all of the questions in today, so we're going to wrap up for now. But again, congratulations, Jorge, on the 2022 production and everything you have to look forward to in 2023. Certainly with Séguéla in particular will be an exciting year, and I know a lot of good things coming there. So thanks for making some time to join us. Great to see you as always. And also Dave Kranzler and Rafi Farber. Great to have you guys on as well. And we will wrap up for now, but thanks to everyone out there watching as well. And we will see you again soon.
Hi, guys.